She was just serving lunch until he tried to humiliate her. What happened next left the entire restaurant frozen. You ever watch someone walk into a room like they already own it? Like the air bends around their ego? That was Douglas Merriweather. Shoulders back, voice loud, smile thin. He stormed into Seb Kitchen, a sleek upscale spot in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, where the water came with lemon zest and the menus read like a thesaurus. Douglas looked like money and carried himself like entitlement had a zip code. But what he didn't know was that the person he tried to humiliate was the wrong woman on the wrong day with the wrong assumptions. Kendra Holloway was in her element, moving table to table with quiet precision. She'd been working there for 2 years, 10-hour shifts, 5 days a week, graceful, sharp, unshaken. Her smile could calm chaos, and her mind held more than most people bothered to imagine. They saw the apron. They didn't see the degree in linguistics and international relations, or the late nights tutoring her brothers after shifts. Life had demanded a detour. She'd taken it without complaint. That Thursday lunch rush was already in full swing when Douglas sat down at table 9. 4 people dressed in that curated casual luxury, watches that whispered net worth, laughter that sounded rehearsed. Douglas was clearly the ringleader. White, mid-50s, silver hair stiff with gel, the kind of man who leaned back in his chair like gravity owed him gratitude. Without looking at her, he tossed out, "Make sure mine's gluten-free." "I don't trust kitchens unless I see them sweat," Kendra responded evenly. "Understood, sir. The chef uses tamari-based soy, no wheat." That caught his attention. Barely. He glanced up, almost surprised she knew that. Then the woman across from him, French clearly, placed her order rapidly, asking about the brie blanc and whether the salmon was wild caught. Kendra didn't flinch. She answered in fluent, graceful French, confirmed details, offered to double-check with the kitchen. The exchange lasted seconds. But in that space, Douglas lost control of the room. He leaned forward, fork clinking against his plate. "Whoa, look at you. Parlez-vous, waitress?" The others at the table stilled. Kendra's posture didn't change, but her smile tightened. "It's French, sir," she said. "Yes, I speak it." Douglas chuckled, loud, almost theatrical. "Well, if you're so smart, translate this." Then out of nowhere, he spit out a garbled German sentence. Loud, sloppy. The kind of thing someone Googles 5 minutes before a flight to Berlin. Eyes turned, conversation slowed. Even the ambient hum of the restaurant paused for a beat. Kendra stood still, one hand on her notepad, the other relaxed. No flinch, no blink. Douglas smirked like a man expecting a knockout punch to land. He waited for her to fumble, to guess, to retreat. Instead, she met his eyes and repeated the sentence back, clean, correct, and confident. Then she gave the formal version and followed it with the English translation. "The mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open." Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was sharp enough to slice the silence clean. The French woman raised her brows. The younger man at the table bit back a grin. Even the Val P, the quiet one, blinked like he'd just witnessed something shift. Douglas laughed again, but it was thin. "You practice that, huh? Google Translate?" Kendra didn't miss a beat. "I don't use Google Translate," she said, "but I can explain the context. That quote is often misattributed to Einstein, but it predates him. Also, you use the informal second person, du, when referring to an abstract noun. That's considered clumsy in formal German." Silence fell again, but this time it had weight. It clung to Douglas like humidity. The French woman leaned in. "She's right. I studied in Berlin. Haven't heard anyone misuse do like that since a frat boy flirted with my roommate." That one landed. The younger guy at the table actually laughed. Quick, then swallowed it. Douglas tried to brush it off. Okay, okay, she speaks languages. Cute. That word. Kendra's smile widened, just a touch. I majored in linguistics and international relations at ASU, spent a summer in Belgium on immersion, picked up German from my roommate, Mandarin during my thesis work. But yes, today I'm your waitress. The laughter Douglas had tried to summon earlier, gone. Just forks scraping plates and a growing awkwardness that hovered over table 9 like fog. Douglas muttered, "Let's just order." We're burning daylight, but his voice had lost its edge. Kendra moved to take the final order. Staff nearby started to notice. A bartender paused mid-shake. A server slowed walking past. At the host stand, Troy, the manager, stood quietly, pretending to check the schedule, but watching closely. In the kitchen, a busboy leaned toward Kendra. What did he say? She shrugged. Something about parachutes. He snorted. Guess his ego didn't open. But she didn't laugh. Because it wasn't funny. Not really, it was just another reminder of how some people need to remind you who they think you are. And yet this time felt different. Back on the floor, the entrees were being prepped. Kendra carried out water in a small bread basket. As she placed them gently on table 9, she heard Douglas's voice again, this time lower but sharper. You know, he said, it's always the ones who think they're smarter than they are that end up in aprons. Kendra paused. I'm sorry. You heard me, he said, leaning forward now. Degrees are cute, but this isn't a college seminar. It's a restaurant. We're here for service, not to get corrected. There it was, the real dagger. Not just a power flex, and this was him trying to reclaim his space. Kendra looked at him, not with anger, just stillness. I treat every guest with respect, she said, but that doesn't mean I forget who I am just because I'm holding a tray. Douglas scoffed. Yeah, and who are you? That sentence didn't just hang, it crashed like broken glass. Kendra didn't blink, didn't shift. I'm someone who didn't have the luxury of coasting through life, she said. I graduated early. I speak 4 languages. I work 2 jobs to keep my brothers in school. And I still show up every morning with my head held high. That's who I am. Douglas leaned back, dismissive. So what? You want a gold star? A pity promotion? Kendra tilted her head, voice calm. Number, I just want to finish doing my job without being belittled. The table was frozen. Then out of nowhere, Troy stepped in. Quiet, calm. Everything all right here? He asked, looking only at Douglas. Douglas shifted. Just a difference in perspective. Troy didn't blink. Well, we don't allow disrespect on our floor, to staff or guests. Kendra didn't say a word. She didn't need to. She walked back toward the kitchen, not fast, not flustered, just steady. But in her chest, that quiet burn wasn't just survival anymore. It was power. Douglas didn't just lose an argument that day. He lost the illusion that had protected him for years. Something shifted in him, not because he wanted it to, but because Kendra held up a mirror he couldn't ignore anymore. The next 20 minutes at table 9 passed in tense silence. No more sarcasm, no smug posturing, just the sound of forks scraping half-finished plates and occasional awkward glances. Douglas barely touched his food. The VP chewed like the meal had lost its taste. The French woman scanned the restaurant as if desperate to escape the thick, invisible fog that now surrounded the table. It wasn't the food, it was the energy. That thick, unmistakable air that fills a room when someone finally realizes they're not as untouchable as they believed. Douglas pushed his plate aside, didn't even finish his quinoa seared sea bass. He signaled for the check. His fingers tapped the table, uneven, jittery. He wasn't in control anymore. The cracks were starting to show. He'd come in expecting another ego-polished lunch. Instead, he got served a truth bomb, delivered without a raised voice, without a public scene, but with a precision that cut deeper than any insult could. Kendra returned with the bill tucked neatly into a leather holder. "Whenever you're ready," she said. Her voice was calm, polite, but distant. Not angry, not bitter. "Just done." Douglas didn't meet her eyes. Just opened the bill, glanced at the total, and pulled out his company card. But then, he froze, just for a second longer than necessary. He placed the card down, then looked up. There was no arrogance in his face, no indignation, just something softer, maybe shame. "Kendra, right?" he asked, voice a notch lower. She nodded. He cleared his throat. "Look, I didn't mean to insult you." She didn't respond right away. He exhaled hard. "I guess I've spent too much time in rooms where talking over people is just how you keep up. You were right to call me out. I just didn't expect it to hit like that." Kendra tilted her head, arms folded across her chest. "You didn't expect someone like me to hit back." He hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah." She didn't flinch. "I've worked my way through a lot of rooms," he continued, "but I don't think I ever had to fight for a seat the way you clearly have." "That's because people move chairs for you," she said quietly, "before you even ask." That one landed. Even the VP looked away. Douglas swallowed. "Maybe it's time I stop expecting that." The French woman spoke softly for the first time. "It's not about being perfect," she said. "It's about being able to hear someone when they speak the truth." Douglas nodded, signed the bill, tipped well, but just before sliding it back, he paused. "Your brothers are lucky," he said. "They've got someone stronger than most execs I deal with every day." Kendra didn't smile, but her eyes softened. "I know," she said. "They don't always see it yet, but they will." She walked away, calm, composed. Douglas sat back, not like a man full from lunch, but like a man who'd just been handed a confidential file on his own flaws and had no idea what to do with it. Back in the kitchen, Troy waited. "What did he say?" he asked. "Something close to sorry." "You believe him?" Kendra shrugged. "Doesn't matter. I wasn't doing it for him." And that was the truth, because people think moments like that are about revenge, about the mic drop. But for Kendra, it wasn't. It was about standing in her truth, about refusing to shrink in a room designed to silence her. It was never about being loud. It was about being clear, but it didn't end there. Around 5:45 p.m., Kendra clocked out, switched her apron for a hoodie, pulled her hair tighter, slid on sneakers. Most of the lunch crowd was long gone. Couples were beginning to trickle in for early dinner. The pressure had dipped. The rhythm had changed. She was heading out when Troy waved from the office window. "You got a sec?" "If it's about covering Friday, I swear I'll fight you." He grinned. "Nah, it's something else." Inside, he handed her a tablet. On the screen, an email from the corporate inbox. Short, simple, director, subject, today, message. "I don't know what I walked into that made me feel like I had to be the loudest voice in the room. I know I spoke from arrogance. I saw myself reflected in someone who had every right to put me in my place. Please thank Kendra for her grace. If she's ever interested in joining the international client team, she has my personal recommendation." Kendra stared at the screen. Not because she was flattered, not because she was impressed, but because she didn't expect it. Troy leaned on the desk. "You thinking about it?" She exhaled. "I'm thinking, it's wild how the world works sometimes." "It's not nothing though," he said. "That door's real, if you want to walk through it." She didn't answer, just handed the tablet back. "I'll think about it." But as she stepped outside into the soft Phoenix dusk, what lingered wasn't the offer. It was the fact that, for once, Someone in power had to sit in discomfort long enough to recognize it. Most people never get called out. They float through rooms like Douglas, unbothered, unchecked, unchallenged. They laugh at people like Kendra, treat her like she blends into the background, until the day she speaks, in 4 languages, with precision, until the day her story cuts through their ego like truth through static, until the day they can't look away. It's not about humiliating them. It's about making them listen. Kendra didn't go to work that morning hoping to teach anyone a lesson. She just wanted smooth tables, good tips, maybe 5 minutes of peace between shifts. But life gives you pop quizzes without warning. And sometimes the person handing you the test thinks you're the one being graded. Douglas didn't realize until too late. He was the one on trial. And while he didn't fail completely, he came close. The lesson wasn't in her fluency. It was in her grace. She never raised her voice, never stormed off, never made a scene. She just told the truth, calm, clear, human. And it shook something loose in the room. Because some people won't change until the mirror talks back. And that mirror, it had a name, a story, and power. Kendra never told her brothers what happened. She didn't need to. That night, she came home to the youngest asleep on the couch with a history book, the middle one burning spaghetti sauce again. Life kept going. Rent still due. Gas tank still half full. But she sat down for a moment, just breathing. And that moment, it mattered more than anything Douglas Merriweather could ever type in an email, because it reminded her, dignity isn't given, it's carried. It doesn't ask for permission, it simply refuses to shrink. People forget that. They confuse volume with truth, mistake cruelty for wit, think interrupting equals intelligence. But real power, it moves quiet, precise, clean, like a blade. Kendra didn't become a hero. She wasn't trying to. She just didn't flinch. And sometimes, that's all it takes to shake a room. So if you're ever underestimated, overlooked, or laughed at because of your background, your job, your silence, remember Kendra. She didn't perform for applause. She spoke because it mattered. She stood because someone needed to see her standing. And somewhere out there, someone like Douglas is rethinking the way they move through the world. Not because they wanted to, but because someone made them stop. And that someone didn't raise her voice. She just refused to be silenced.